So I officially failed my plumbing and electrical inspection. So let me tell you how we got to this point.
So before I'm allowed to install siding and insulation to cover things up, I'm required to have a rough-in inspection. I tried to schedule that with the county, but also learned that I needed to get a new survey to show the cabin so that they could verify that the setbacks, which is typically 15 feet from the property lines, were respected. I asked why it wouldn't be possible for the inspector to just pull a tape measure from the property line to the cabin and verify it himself, but no, they wanted a licensed surveyor involved, so this cost me $800, and literally all they cared about was these two measurements showing that I did follow the setback. I then scheduled the inspection, and sure enough, the inspector showed up on a Friday afternoon. I said hi to him and went around him to see if he would need me. He was pretty quiet, pretty much just walking around with his flashlight. I also gotta say that he was fully equipped with his all that on, looking pretty serious, while I was in running short with some sandal. He was probably thinking, who the hell is this guy? But eventually he started pulling his notepad and writing a bunch of stuff down, pulling on some loose plumbing, writing some more stuff down. He wasn't saying a thing. I was there just awkwardly looking around, not sure what to do. I felt pretty stressed out. It was really the first person checking my work and deciding if it was good or not, and I knew that any major changes could set me back and prevent me from making progress. He asked me a few questions here and there, mostly about framing first, which I felt pretty confident answering since that's my area of expertise. Then he started asking me about pressure checking my plumbing system, which I had no clue what he was talking about. I literally had him explaining me what that meant, and now I would go about doing it. At that point, he was actually quite friendly, very patient with me, and explaining me things that most builders would probably already know. After a good 30 to 40 minutes inspecting, he handed me some paperwork. The good news was that I had passed my framing inspection, but I did fail both the plumbing and electrical part. He also handed me a list of all the items he found to be wrong. Some were quite easy to fix, some were definitely gonna require some extra work. But first, let's take a minute to talk about today's sponsor.
Now that the cabin is dried in with the roof being installed, I really want to be able to lock this door so that I may start leaving some equipment in the cabin. And so perfect timing, the sponsors of today's video is a brand named Luckily, and they do probably the most advanced smart lock that I've seen out there, which is exactly what I'm looking for, because eventually you all know that this is going to be an Airbnb, and so I want a lock that I can use, that I can control with my phone, that that will connect through Bluetooth, that will let me change code and have all sorts of functionality to make my life easier.
So I'm not gonna lie, at first when I opened and got all the equipment out of the box, it felt pretty overwhelming as there are a lot of different pieces, but honestly the instructions are extremely well made, so if you take your time and follow the instructions step by step, then you will have absolutely no problem installing this lock.
So here's something you really need to understand. I mean, this lock kind of works differently from any of the other smart lock that exist. Most of them have some sort of motor that actually controls the deadbolt. This one doesn't. Really, what this one does, it pretty much controls what this handle will be able to engage. To lock everything up, you just pretty much go up with the handle, and that will latch your deadbolt. And then this will also be completely blocked. I cannot open the door anymore with the handle. And then, if you needed to unlock it or to leave from the inside, one handle movement down would unlock completely the door system. Okay, so let's start from the basics. I just got out, you lock the door. So obviously you have a really nice keypad. If you've used any other sort of other locks on the market, such as this one, which is what I used to use, the keypad is physically set. You don't really, it doesn't change or anything. So whenever you're entering your code, if someone sees, whatever combination you did, they can easily reproduce it and, pretty much break into your place. So they have a system here which they dubbed the Pin Genie. And what's pretty good with it is that if I enter my code and open the door, lock it back, all the numbers have been completely shuffled. So there's no way, even if someone is literally sitting next to you and you're entering your PIN, there is no way that they can see what pattern you're following. So I think that is pretty neat. So another way to open the door, and which is by far my most favorite feature, is that there's actually a fingerprint sensor on the side of the lock. So I've already went through the app and I register 2 of my fingers. And so that's literally all I have to do to open the cabin. And I think this is very very useful. Then obviously, like any lock, there's always kind of a backup. If, I don't know, you run out of batteries or anything, you always have the possibility to use a good old set of keys. And that will also, you know, allow you to get access. As I mentioned prior, there is also an app which allows you a lot of features. And so one of the features is also to lock and unlock the door. So you see, like, it's locked right now. Unlock, and that's it. It's that simple.
There are so many other features I did not get the chance to cover, such as real-time notification, remote control from anywhere via Wi-Fi, and so much more. So please go to the link in the description and go check out the smart lock from Lockly. You will not be disappointed. And thank you Lockly for sponsoring this video.
So first item, all electrical wire need to be securely attached to the framing, at least within 8 inches of any electrical box or the electrical panel. I have done this mostly everywhere, but I forgot a few. So that one is good now. So the most obvious place where I didn't do it right was actually at the electrical panel. Okay, I think that's good. So other electrical failure that I had is that I forgot to wire a smoke detector. Per code, you have to have a fully wired smoke detector in your construction. I can put it kind of anywhere in Mansion because this is an open room. There's not like a separate bedroom or anything, so I just need one. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect back to one of my outlet, and just like that, done. So I went and connected to this outlet, and then I made all my way up, went through the top plate, and then went through maybe 3 rafters, and I'll put it somewhere up there. On to the next one. All right, we're gonna tackle the one that actually is by far the one that's gonna be the most annoying. So, what you see here, this is all my venting for, you know, all my sewer plumbing. And yes, this T here, and this one, I placed them upside down. I didn't know. So the logic is, I mean, technically there's not even really gonna be liquid in this. It's just, you know, air so that you don't siphon out your P-traps, but there's still gonna be a little bit of rainwater because this one here is gonna be sticking out through the roof. And so logically, when you place those sanitary T, they need to follow, you know, where the water, the direction of the flow of water. So technically, this guy here, 2 by 2 by 1.5. So this actually needs to be this way because the flow of water, AKA the drop of rain and condensation that are gonna be in this pipe, are gonna come from here. I mean, in all honesty, it's kind of ridiculous. It's quite annoying, and it's gonna take me a while. I mean, I already spent another, you know, $50 to $60 to get everything again, because I'm gonna have to cut all over the place. I can't tell you how bad it feels to just did what I just did and cut all that stuff. Here's to money and time well wasted. All right, so next up on the list, which should be, again, fairly easy, which I like. I apparently used, I just used drywall screws to attach the shower head valve, and you're supposed to use screws that will be, moisture resistant. So I'm guessing that any exterior deck screws should do it, so that's what I'm gonna use. We'll see. All right, so next up on the list, the inspector, pointed out that this was not really stable. So we're just gonna strap it like we strap the plumbing, below the cabin. Again, should be easy enough. So let's just do it. Hopefully this will satisfy the inspector. I think that's good enough. Okay, next item, which was also fairly simple. I forgot a couple of strike plates here. You can see I have it here. I don't have it here. Thankfully, I had some extras laying around, so something else I forgot to do, which I knew about, but I just didn't get around doing it, is that any wire or plumbing that penetrates the top or the bottom plate needs to be filled up with fire blocking foam. And the reason is that if you have I don't know really how it applies to this cabin necessarily, but let's say that you have a 2-story home, you don't want to give an easy way for a fire to spread from one level to the other going through those holes. So that's why you have to use special foam. Probably gonna want to use gloves and glasses because this thing can get probably pretty messy. So you see, there you go. So the last thing that was on the paperwork from the inspector was that I need to be able to do a leak test on both the water system and the sewer lines. And I literally had no clue what he was talking about because I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, I have not connected the water. What are you even talking about? And so sure enough, I learned that I'm gonna have to cap all the system shut. And then at one end, I'm gonna install a gauge with a little valve, and then I'll be able to connect that to my compressor, and I will be able to test my system separately, the water on one side and then the sewer on the other, and check that there's actually no leak in both of those systems. The good thing is that the inspector told me that I could keep going with the siding and everything because that's not affecting what he will have to recheck when he comes back. So I bought everything I need for the leak test. So I think I'll do probably a separate episode about it because I think it's going to take me a minute to figure it out. And if there are leaks, it's probably going to take more than a minute to find them and fix them. And I think that's it. Everything else on the list I've corrected. And so I think that I'm good to go to keep going. And now I'm really going to focus on the outside, finish the siding, finish all the trim work. And really my goal is to finish the entire outside. And then all I will have to do is to finish all the inside, which I think will be a lot easier, a lot safer, so I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you so much for following my journey. I hope that those failures from my inspection taught you a few lessons so that you won't be making the same mistakes. And hopefully you will pass your electrical and your plumbing inspection on the first try. Okay, I will see you next time for some more cabin building.